Kaya, obviously a significant time, especially for the relationship that one may say that was forged even deeper during the State of the Nation, the political address yesterday. That's the January 8th statement by the African National Congress, forging further the relationship between Ethiopia as well as South Africa. And now hosting the Laureate means that South Africa is clearly wanting to make headway in terms of how South Africa as well as Ethiopia continue with that bilateral relationship.
Well, absolutely, Faith. It is a historic day. If my memory serves me right, when you go back to 2017, then President Jacob Zuma hosted former Liberian president, who was also a Nobel Peace Prize laureate. But now fast forward into 2019, the corridors of power here at the Union buildings are hosting the Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. So there's quite a lot of issues that the two leaders will look at. For example, the issue of trade between South Africa and Ethiopia, but also making sure that they increase their investment and making sure that the private sector between the two countries are able to play a very key role, especially Faith. When you look at South Africa, it's a very interesting time for Pretoria. In February, the country will have an opportunity where it's going to assume a very important continental role as the African Union chairperson. And of course, Ethiopia is playing host of the AU headquarters. So there's quite a lot of consultations that will be made by President Ramaphosa and the Prime Minister to that effect. But also, Faith, this is a Prime Minister who has ushered in a number of reforms in his own country. When you go back into April 2018, Ethiopia was facing unrest, but he was able to stabilize the country, but also playing a pivotal role in terms of the mediation efforts in countries like Eritrea. And that's where he got a Nobel Peace Prize owing to his very monumental role that he played in Eritrea.
When we're talking about the contribution that is made as well as domestically, Kaya, because, I mean, he's been known as granting amnesty to thousands of political prisoners. And obviously, when it comes to this issue around media censorship, especially very fragile around the discourse of the current political climate, he's actually been known to discontinue the media censorship, which says something about the pro-democratic stance that has been taken, and quite deliberately so.
Well, Faith, Ethiopia is a very multi-ethnic society. Obviously, there has been quite a number of concerns raised, but Prime Minister Abiy has tried to deal with a number of structural problems. Like you said, the issue around the media freedom. He has tried to make sure that some journalists are taken out of jail, but also apart from that, one of the areas where he has been able to play a very critical role is, gender equity. Quite a number of women in Ethiopia are occupying very significant position. And you know that they do have a president who also happens to be a woman, as much as she does have ceremonial powers. But to some degree, it's really good for optics for the country. But also, this is a prime minister who came at a very crucial time for his country. When the country was facing a number of challenges, he has been able to stabilize the situation. So when you go back to December 2019, for example, Faith, looking at the domestic issues in Ethiopia, he was able to dissolve APRDF. So now you have prosperity parties. So trying to deal with the ethnic rivalries at times that will give Ethiopia a very bad reputation, as it were. But we're expecting President Ramaphosa and the Prime Minister Ahmed to also look at the continental issues. For example, with South Africa assuming the position as the AU chair. So they'll be looking at the issue of silencing the gun. It's one of the very key issues that has been declared by the AU for 2020.
We're going to leave it there for now. Thanks a lot for joining us and shedding some light in terms of the significant contribution that Abiy Ahmed has made, Prime Minister of Ethiopia. And of course, as that meeting continues and the welcoming continues by President Cyril Ramaphosa, as well as his team, we'll be giving you more insight in terms of those developments.